they started doing where it's moving, what do you call that? Animation
Of
of their illustrations. So they now have a man who's tahor who walks into the Beit HaKadosh
not just a still picture.
and to show how he becomes Avrohom when the mace is there.
Okay.
I think that's for today, probably, right? No?
Yesterday. That was
Oh,
yesterday.
that was yesterday?
I think. Maybe no. Maybe I didn't hear exactly what you said, but the case. But
Yesterday it was hard for me to concentrate.
Okay. Yesterday's Gemara started on the top of Mem Beis and Mem Beis. There was machlokas between Rava and Rav Yosef, both of them in the name of Rav Huna. The pasuk says about nazir not to become tamei. It says lo yitama and also lo yavo. I'll call nafshas meis lo yavo. He shouldn't come upon the body of a dead, and lo yitama, he shouldn't become tamei because father with his mother. So the fact that it says two terms. So Rabbi says it is possible to have these two transgressions of lo yitama and lo yavo, but it's not going to be tumah and tumah. It's not going to be two transgressions of tumah. And Rav Yosef said in the name of Rav Huna that it's even possible tumah and tumah. The Gemara, we learned the Rosh Pshat yesterday that even Rav Yosef only says a difference if it's going to be not bechibur. It means that the nazir let go of the first, and he touched the second mace. Then it's going to be a second avera of tamei. Even though he's already tamei, but he had contact with the mace. Even though he's tamei, it's also another avera. And Rabbi doesn't hold him that. Everybody agrees that if he's still holding on to the mace and he touches another mace, that's not considered a second tumah. He's still mamish connected to the first tumah, so it's not considered more tumah. But if he let go of the first mace, even though he didn't go to the mikveh or anything, he didn't wait 7 days, he didn't get paraduma. But then Rav Yosef says that since he let go, so then it is considered a second tumah, and he gets 2 averos, and Rabbi says not. And now the Gemara goes back on the bottom of the page, one line up, then Beis and Beis. The question is going to be according to Rabbi that there's no tumah of a tumah. How is it possible? Why is there yes tumah and bia? These two means it is possible to have 2 averos of lo yitama and lo yavo. But we said yesterday, I said the pshat that the Rishonim say based on the Gemara coming up. But here's the Gemara right now. Rav Yochanan kan b'bayis kan b'sada. So the Gemara is very vague, but I guess it's going to be muchach in the Gemara coming up. What the pshat is that it is possible, even though lo yavo and lo yitama is also once he became tamei. So then going into a house where the mace is also. He's tamei already. What's the difference if he touches 2 mason or a mace and then touches another mace, or he touches a mace and then goes into a house with a mace? There's no difference. If he's tamei and Rabbi says there's no tumah v'tumah, so there shouldn't be a nisir of tumah and then going into the house also. That's the more discussion. And the more says kam b'bayis kam b'sada. So the words would be very hard to figure out what the words mean. But Rishonim explained based on the Gemara coming up that b'bayis means that he was tohar. He was tohar. And he came into a house that has a mace, so automatically both of them come simultaneously to averis because he came into the house, lo yavo, and also he became tamei. Surely he became tamei because Tumas Ovel became tamei, and also Akal Nafshas Mace lo yavo. So both of them came simultaneously. But to touch 2 mason, it doesn't make it a second averis. It's the same as if it was tamei. Touching it simultaneously doesn't make it 2 averos. Even touching 2 mason doesn't make it any worse because he did the same avera, lo yitama. But by lo yavo and lo yitama, it is possible that both of them came out simultaneously. That's the one sense. Kam b'bayis kam b'sada in the house. When he comes into the house when he's tohar, so then it's possible to get 2 averos simultaneously. But in the field, it's outside the house. It's impossible to get 2 averos simultaneously because lo yitama and lo yitama is the same thing. Lo yavo is only going to mean they coming into a house. That's what the more understands, that lo yavo, Akal Nafshas Meis lo yavo, the simple meaning means he shouldn't come upon the dead. It doesn't know anything about the house. But the Gemara is saying that it is possible, if you explain lo yavo means to coming into a house, so then he shouldn't come into the house and it shouldn't become tamei, and that's 2 separate averos. He did one act that had 2 averos because he came into the house of the tamei and he became tamei, both of them simultaneously. But if it's outside of a house, so then touching a mace and then touching a mace and even touching both maces simultaneously is only going to be the same avera. It's not going to be 2 averas. So the kid said that's what the Rishonim said in the beginning, that it is possible to transgress both averas, lo yitama and lo yavo. In the case where he was tohar and he came into a house where there's a dead man, so simultaneously he gets both averas, al nafshas meis lo yavo, and also lo yitama. But if he was tamei already, then it wouldn't be avera to come to the house more because he's already tamei. Like Rabbi says that he's not chayiv for tumah v'tumah. That's the Gemara till the bottom of the line, till the bottom of the page. Next page, Now the Gemara is going to ask many questions back and forth that it's not true. Even if you come into the house, it's impossible to get into the house without becoming tummy first. So without tummy first, it's impossible to go into a house.
Why is that simultaneous?
Why is it simultaneously? Because the Gemara has a hanacha pshuta, like a premise that it's not called coming into the house until Rosh Varubo is inside the house. Still, most of Ism is inside the house. That's called he came into the house. By sticking his finger into the house, he didn't come into the house.
And he'll still be
tummy nice. Yeah, Tuma Soel is immediately as soon as a mashu of him gets into the house, he's already tummy. And then when he goes completely into the house or Rubo into the house, and then he's already tummy. He's not going to be, since we're going now, according to Rabbah, that Tumah v'Tumah lo, that once he's tummy, he's not going to be another if coming tummy again or coming into the house again, also not because he's already tummy. So you have to find a case where simultaneously he became into the house and he became tummy. And the one is asking, that's not called coming into the house until most of him is inside the house. Rosh Varubo is inside the house.
So here Nami means one Avera. Is that right?
I'll read it. The Bais Nami, Chiven the Ayel Yode Yistaf, Ki Ayel Kule. They take out the word not Kule High. They take out the word. Take out the yud over here. Ki Ayel Kule Ha Tame who here by the house also. Since he puts in his hand, as soon as he puts in his hand, he's already Tame. And then when he goes in completely, he's already Tame. So he shouldn't become an Avera of coming into the house. We're saying that there's no Avera, extra Avera of Tumah v'Tumah. So then the Gemara is asking, so Tumah and Bias, Tumah and coming in is also no possibility of both Averas coming simultaneously, because part of him comes in before all of him comes in.
So does the Nami mean like the Sada, or does it mean one Avera?
Yes, no, but Bias Nami, even in the house also, just like you said, in the Sada, in the house also,
the Nami is like
besides the Sada. Just like in the Sada, it's not possible to have two Averas. In the house also, it's not possible to have two Averas, because since he brought in his hand, it becomes tummy. The word ayil means to bring in, the star means to become tummy. As soon as he put in his hand, he stuck his hand in, he's already tummy. And then when he goes in completely, he's already tummy. So he's not going to be high for the second Avera of lo yavo, because he's already tummy. So the Gemara is going to try to figure out a case where he doesn't become tummy before he gets completely in. It's going to take a couple of tries, and most of them we would say, "What's the hava? What do you think? What's the hava mean?" Each time we're going to knock it off right away. Rabbi Lezer is going to try to answer that he didn't stick his hand in first. The whole kasha was, you stick your hand in first. If you stick your hand in, you're ready to tell me. So he says he didn't stick his hand in first.
It's impossible unless you jump in. The
He didn't
normal
stick
way
his
to
hand in
walk
first.
would be
So hold your hands.
your nose.
You got it. That's what the Gemara is going to say. Your nose.
There's no way to walk in.
That's it. Right. So you're getting the Gemara's kasha, but the Gemara takes it in stages.
Okay.
First, the Gemara said you can go without your hands going in first. Tziref Kufo, Amar Abulazah, Tziref Yodo, Mishum Tama Ika, Mishum Bialeka. The Gemara seems to say that if he put his hand in, what the word Tziref Yodo means, it seems that if he put his hand inside the house, then you're right. Then it'll be tummy first, and then he's not going to be chayiv for coming into the house afterwards because he's already tummy. But Tziref Kufo, Tumobia, Bahadi Adadi Kasel. If he brings in his whole body together without putting his hand in first, so then both of them come simultaneously. But right away, the Gemara jumps up, like Yaakov's kasha. So his nose went in first. No difference which part of him. It could be his hand, his nose. That's more kasha now. When a person walks, even if he's holding his hands by his sides, but his nose goes in first, so then he's going to become tamei. And then when he comes in, the rest of him, he didn't become more tamei. He became tamei already as soon as his nose came in. So Rav is going to try another teretz, which also is not going to help, and he's going to say,
I'm sorry, where did we end?
the kasha, the kasha is it's impossible that he doesn't bring his nose in first, and then he's already tamei, and the end of the kasha is going to be, so he's not going to be high for coming in because he's already tamei. Till the word Ella. Is that good?
No, I missed a whole line.
Which
We
one?
had Mishum Tuma Ika Mishum Bia Leka, and then it says Tzirif Gufo.
Yeah, that wasn't the answer yet. The answer is here's where the answer really starts. But Tzirif Gufo, Tumo Bia Badadi Kasuk. So if he put his hand, not only his hand, if he put his hands in first, then you're right. But if he put his whole body in, so then both of them come simultaneously. That was the answer. And then the Gemara jumps and asks on that. That's not true. Even in the case where he doesn't stick his hands in first, still his nose is going to go first. And he became tamei. And then when he comes in the rest of his body, he's not going to be over another avera because he's already tamei. Ichnis gufo tumo bia ba'adi adadi kasyan. So here also it's hard to see it in the words. Some of the different gears from the Gemara, but the general idea of Rav is going to be that he didn't put his nose in first. He got his body in without his nose. What are you going to ask on that?
Well, no, I said if he jumps in.
Even if he jumps in, it's going to be the first part of him. Whatever part of him goes first. The Gemara's not going to have such. That's what maybe Rav was trying to do. That he got his body in without.
Even if he made it into a ball, part of it goes in.
Part of it goes first. As soon as part of it goes in, till you have most of it in, he's tamei and he's not ba'al abayis. It's only ba'al abayis once he's in. To enter
and be all
there. The Gemara's going to figure it out. But so far, the Gemara is asking what he does.
How
He
about
puts
his
his hand
intention
in.
is to go in altogether, so what's the difference if his nose is good?
Again?
his intention.
His intent.
No, it doesn't make a difference. If he came tamei right away, and he came tamei right away, and he doesn't come completely into the house until Rubo. It's not called Baal. So Rabba holds that once he was tamei, he's not over again for coming into a house that's tamei. So the Gemara is trying to get them all there simultaneously, but it's not working. Either
If he jumps, it's one miser. I mean, if he's walking in, each step he takes is a different miser. If he's jumping, it's only one miser.
Yes, it might be. But even taking a step, it's also one miser. He steps in. It's also the same thing. The Gemara's not happy.
Right. So
he look at his
when his legs in, that's one miser. When the rest of it is the second miser. But the jump is only one miser.
And still the Gemara is not happy. Still the Gemara says that as soon as a mashu of him came in, he's
Even if
already
it's one
done it,
ma'aser.
even a one ma'aser. The Gemara doesn't make that as a separate teretz.
Mhm.
So this is what Rabbi is trying. And here, Rabbi tries, in the words, it's hard to see it, I think.
But
The others have different gears, huh?
But are we at Elohim?
Doesn't make a difference. As soon as some of him comes in, he's coming, and he's not Ba'al Abai, so most of him.
Are we at Elohim?
Elam Rabba, Hichnis Yod,
Yeah.
Elam Rabba,
Yeah.
Hichnis Yodo, Mishum Tuma Ika Mishum Bialak. If he'd bring his hand in first, so then, or you want to say his nose in, whatever, so then he'd be tummy first, and then he wouldn't be high for coming in afterwards. But
Another question. That doesn't work.
we're saying the teretz again,
Is that there?
and we're just going over it for the words. If he gets his whole body in, without getting his nose in first, which you could say, like the Rush explains, that he
Goes in backwards.
doesn't make a difference backwards. However he's going to go in, that he's not going to get his nose in first. The Rush says he put his nose to the side, whatever. He got that his body should come in without his nose coming first. He got his body without his head. But the nose didn't go first. But the Gemara jumps right away. What's the difference of all these things? Well, you have to the low ILS bus of the carriage ratio, so his big toe went in first. Whatever goes in first, any part that goes in first. And all these cases, not acceptable, because in all these cases, either his hand went in first, or his nose went in first, or his toe went in first, whatever it is. So he's tummy ready, and he doesn't become Baal Abayis until he's Rubo is inside. So how do you get a case that comes simultaneously? So the one has a case. Everybody's trying, but anybody wanted one more
Probably
try?
something left field, something.
Not so much. Elam Rapapa, Kigon Shenichnas Beshida Teva Migdal, Bochavero, Po Alav
What's a
Samazir.
sheet of tape?
That he came in a box. They brought him in a box, so he's not tummy.
And as soon
Because
as
he's
they
in the
open
box.
it,
The box
the
is
whole thing-
the box is protecting him.
I
And then when they open up the box, so the tumor and he's in the house all happen simultaneously. That's a good one. Smart. So Shida Teva Migdal is a kind of boxes, Aron and more box, whatever you want. And here it says that a friend came and opened it up. That doesn't really answer the question. We're not the friend. We need the person himself should be getting to Avera. So it's not the friend. It's really he himself opened up the box.
He's got a handle inside.
So why does it says
Asiba means like to ooze out.
Here Maziba is going to mean no. Maziba here means like the top of the box.
So
Maziba is
Lola's or Kiyotos or Lola's Loyas.
different person. It talks about that. It means like some kind of a tar and cement. And here there's no tar and cement. Usually you talk about the roof. So you talk about that he cleared away the cement. The para means he opened up the cement. But there's no cement here, it's just a box. He opened up the box on top of the box. It's an expression used from other places.
So what does it mean?
It really literally means tar.
What was it?
And
Maziva
Maziva, right?
is tar. But here, what does it mean?
Here means the top of the box, the roof. He opened up the
Oh, the
roof.
top.
The point is the roof. That he opened up the roof. Here, the words of the Gemara are that a friend came and opened up the roof. It's true that Tumah comes simultaneously with being in the house, but the point is not to say that the friend did it, because the friend did it, then he doesn't get Avera. The friend is the one who made him Tamei. Also, not an Avera for him. But the Gemara probably just bringing this lesson of Bach Avera from the Gemara we had once upon a time that over there was talking about Bach Avera, a different Gemara that Zayin Amud Beis that says it on the side also over there. Oh, where did it go? Yizayin of Advais. There the Gemara said, it's just quoting a Gemara before. But here the case is not Havero, it means he himself did it. The Mepharshim say that it means that he helped his friend. The point is that he did it himself. That there was a box, they brought him in with a box into the house, and he wasn't Tamei. And then he opened up the roof of the box, the top of the box, and now that the tumah and the being in the house happen simultaneously. This will be a case where it's possible to be transgressing both Averis, lo yavo, and not just and also lo yitama. But if he be Tamei first, then he wouldn't be chayiv for coming into the house. Another possible answer? Anybody else? One more chance? Another possible answer? The man didn't die. The man was still alive. When the nazir came in, the man was still alive. And the man died. And now he becomes Tamei and he's in the house with the dead at the same time.
Why is that called coming?
Because he's not leaving.
He didn't have a choice.
He could leave.
Before he dies, he got a chance.
No, or he could leave it right away. That the Gemara spoke about that. Does he have to
He's
leave
saying
before
because he didn't leave right away.
Right,
Staying there is like coming in.
right. And the Gemara talked about this before a while ago. Does he have to wait a shehiyah? Does he have to wait a certain time in order to be avera? Or it's an avera right away if he doesn't go out right away? So the Tumah will be about the Dadikasan. He was a ghostes. The Gemara does not say it's a ghostes. The Gemara could say that he died suddenly. A ghostes means somebody who's nearly, he's expiring. So he's not yet dead. So there's no avera for him to be there. But then his soul left him. Nafik Nishmase at the Yasib, and his soul left him as while the Nazir was still there.
At the Yasib as well.
While he was still there, while the Nazir was there.
Okay.
The Tumah will be about the Dadikasan, that the Tumah and coming into the house came simultaneously. So the Gemara found two cases. 3 of them we knocked off. The Gemara was trying to get a case, and the Gemara finally found 2 cases. How is possible for the Tumah and the Biyah to come together? Even according to Rava that says that once he's Tamei and he becomes Tamei again, there's not a separate Avera, but it is possible to get both Avera simultaneously coming into the house and becoming Tamei. In the case where it happens simultaneously, usually it doesn't happen simultaneously because as soon as a Masha Wivim goes in, no matter what part of it, his hand, his foot, his nose, whatever it might be, a little part of him comes in, he's already Tamei, and then coming in further is not going to make him another Avera because he's already Tamei. We got 2 cases where it happened simultaneously. Either he came in a box and he opened up the box and everything comes simultaneously, or the man died and everything comes simultaneously. New Gemara.
In that case,
In that case, it'll be over 2 Averas. Tana Rabbanan. So we're talking about Nazir, but the Gemara also has no problem with putting the halachas about a Kohen also. Kohen is not allowed to become Tamei Meis, and the Nazir is not allowed to be Tamei Meis, and the Gemara doesn't see any difference. They're all the same halachas, and therefore the Gemara puts both of them together. One pasuk says Lahei Chalo. That's the pasuk that it says by a Kohen, that a Kohen shouldn't become Tamei. Ad Shah Sheyamos. Only when the man dies. We'll see in a second what that's talking about, that a Kohen is not allowed to become Tamei to the dead. Rabbi Omer b'Mosam. This is the pasuk that it says by Nazir, which the Gemara is not mechalek between Kohen and Nazir, it's all the same. That he shouldn't become Tamei to the relatives in their death, until the relative dies. Both of them seem to say the same thing, that it's not usher to have contact with the dead until he's dead. Till the time that he dies, until his death, it seems to be the same thing.
Yehei Chalo means
Lechalo, to profane himself. Until he dies. Means before he dies, not a problem, it seems. I'm not sure. And then B'mosam also says the same thing. B'mosam Yitma, that's the pasuk. And also Ashayamos, until he dies. Both of them say the same thing, that until he dies, there's no Issa, there's no, it's not called coming in contact with the dead until he's dead. Seems simple. We'll see the Gemara right away. My benayu, is there any difference between these 2 drushes? There is no difference. It's just how to learn the pasuk. You learn it from this pasuk, you learn it from that pasuk. Both of them are saying the same thing, that there's no avera to have contact with the dead until he's dead, which of course, but now the Gemara says not so simple. There's a machlok going on. Goses Sike benayu. A goses is a man when he's expiring, and the Gemara will talk probably other sugis where it talks about what's called the goses, what's called simani goses, that he's on the way out. The person who's dying, that's called simani goses, that it's a rov goses and lamisa, that he's probably going to die. It's already, we see the simanim, whatever it is, it's going to be in the breathing, whatever simanim, they know that that's called the goses. So it comes out that Ad Shah Sheyamos might mean that the time that he's dying means not only the actual death. The second one that says Ad Sheyamos until he actually dies. And if he's a ghost, it's still considered alive. And there's no issur for a nazir or a kohen to be in the same room as a ghost. But if you say Achoshi, almost means a new issur, that it's usher, the raisa, to be with the ghost. The kohen or the nazir can't be with the ghost. That's a big chiddush, because the ghost, as we know, is alive. It's not considered dead till he dies.
Yeah, I lost you. First of all, Rabbi Yochanan says there is something, the only thing is the way you darshan.
Which means there is no practical difference. That's the
no
question.
practical difference, just the how you
How you
darshan.
darshan it around. This
And they
possible
both say ad shiyamos.
one says Ad Shashiyamos, one says Ad Shemos. Both of them mean the same thing. Both of them mean the same.
Ad shiyamos.
Ad
One says ad
shayamos.
shiyamos.
And that's no difference. They both mean
The word's the same word, same
And,
word.
yeah,
Shiyamos.
he says that the word we're talking about is Lahech Halo, and two psukim. So which one do you learn out this halacha from? Both of them are learning the same halacha, that it's not usher for him to come in until the person is dead. And even though he used the word shashiyamos, he used shayamos, that's all the same.
Yeah.
And the psukim, two different psukim for the same thing. And Rish Lakish says, no, there's two different psukim, and each pasuk is telling you something else. If you dash on Hechalo, then it's telling you even a goses is usher. The Kohen's not allowed to come into the room where the goses is. And the one who learns it out from B'mosam is going to say,
You mean I was thinking ad. Ad shah. Oh, I see. Ad shah. Meaning that even before.
right, the time that he's dying is even the goses, even the expiration period. While he's expiring. Why does he go
A coin shouldn't really go into a hospital any time.
What is that?
A coin should never go into a hospital.
Why not?
Firstly,
According to
there's
Rish Lakish.
there's feel Avarim, they
You say bring a different subject. Nothing to do with our subject. It's a good subject, nothing to do with
I thought
us.
we're talking about walking into the
No, but
to
it's fine.
Tameh.
What does that have to do with Avrohom? We're talking about a new subject called if there's limbs. That's going to be on the base. It's not here. We didn't talk about it, but it's talking about is it usher to have contact before he dies.
Right, so that's why Kahana really shouldn't go, because there's a lot of people that are ready to die here. And you never
Is there
would-
is there a
you never
ghost?
would-
Is there a ghost there? You have
Any
to
big
have the same way they have
Find out.
the same way they have a sign by the as Harald Kohanim
Right.
if someone died. So the Gemara is talking about this, there's have to be a sign that someone's a ghost. According to Rish Lakish, according to who's that?
Rish
The
Lakish would say-
Tanakama, Ashar Shayamos. So he's going to say that even a ghost is also for a Kohen to come in.
It's a shire. It's a fence.
What?
It's purely a fence, in other words, because
We're not talking about a fence. Talk about a pshat in the pasuk. You're saying a fence that it's Rabbanon maybe.
it
Or,
sounds like it, yeah.
But no, it doesn't sound like it. Sounds like it's a pasuk.
What's the puzzle? Tell me when you.
That's what we're dashing over here. The man I feel the one he dashes that he shouldn't come lechalo, which the Gemara explains Achosh Yamos. That means even if he's a ghost, it's also for Kohen to come in to the place where there's a ghost, even though he didn't die. The one who says b'mosam is only after he died. The man lechalo afilu ghost. The man b'mosam Achayamos in ghost low. Only after he dies is also to have to come into the room. But if he's a ghost, it's a smutter. Now you want to say that it's a smart thing that a ghost can come. You should go out because it's a ghost, he's going to die. But we're not talking about smart advice or drabonan. We're talking about a device over here that he dashes from leichalo that it's also even a ghost says. Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't say that. Rabbi Yochanan says both of them are saying the same thing. Both of them only mean until he actually dies. A different pasuk to learn it out from, but both of them mean the same thing. But Rish Lakish says no. The one who says leichalo says even a ghost says also with the rice he's not allowed to come
Yeah,
in.
I agree. And it was it's mamish the rice. It's the man from the city.
Right. The Gemara now, like always, whenever if there's a machlokes going on, so what does each one do with the other one's pasuk? And that's going to be the next 10 lines. What does each one do with the other one's pasuk? If you dash in leichalo, what do you do with b'mosam? If you dash in b'mosam, what do you do with leichalo? That's the Gemara's kasha. Ulmadam leichalo haksib b'mosam. What is he going to do with the word b'mosam? He's going to have to dash in it somehow. The answer is, he uses it for Rebbe's drasha. The time Rebbe Omer, b'mosam einam l'tamei, avol l'tamei b'negosam ubazibasam. It's only also for a Kohen or a nazir to have contact with the dead. A mace. But if the person is a metzora or is a zav, other kinds of tumas, it's not issa. No issa for a nazir or a kohen to have contact with a different kind of a tumas. Only tumas mace. Only tumas mace. That's why that's to say b'mosam to exclude that there's no issa to have contact with a different kind of a tamei, a zav or a metzora. That's no problem for a kohen or a nazir. Only tumas mace, which is pashup shot from the pasuk. But he says That's why I need the pasuk for. It has to say that he shouldn't. If it does say don't become tamei, you might have thought kind of tamei, but it says tamei b'mosam, only something about the death. So that's why he uses the pasuk to say that it's not also to have contact with a mitzora, a nega, nigasam is a nega, or a mitzora, or a ziva. Okay, now. How other one who uses up the word b'mosam? How does he know this halacha that it's mutter to have contact with the mitzora or the zav? Well, the man dama b'mosam. I mean, boy how could you use b'mosam to say only after he dies? He needed to tell us that it's mutter to have contact with a mitzora or a zav. And came name of problem most. My b'mosam shamid b'notarti. That it's true. You can learn two drushes from the same pasuk because there's an extra nuance, extra letter that it could have said lo yitamu lahem b'mos or b'moves. And that would have also told us only death and nothing about Goyim and Ziva. The fact that it says B'mosam, it's an extra letter to teach us two drushes. So we can learn out that it's only death and not Goses, and we can learn out that it's only death and not Mitzorah and Zub. There's not that contact.
This is Rabbi Yonatan? Yochanan?
No, this is the Gemara that's asking how does each one do with the other one's drusha. We have two Tanaim over here. We're saying that there is machlokas according to Rish Lakish. How does each one do with the other one's pasuk? So the one that says leichalo to tell you that it's even a So how do you know what to do with the word b'mosam? And the Gemara says he learns it to tell you that a mitzorah and a zav he could have contact with, and everybody holds with that, but maybe there's extra mem that entitles you to dash in another drusha. And now the Gemara goes the opposite way. What is this man that says b'mosam means after actual death? He doesn't dash in leichalo to say when he's expiring. So what does he do with that word? He has the extra word to dash in. Leichalo comes for the following drasha. It's only usher to become tamei to somebody who's not tamei. But if it's already tamei, he's already profane. It's the very tamei. It's not necessary for him to become more tamei. What the Gemara said yesterday, number of days. Yesterday we changed the gears yesterday just to point out this Gemara was yesterday and it said v'lo yichalel. Here it said v'lo yichalel. This v'lo yichalel, and we said it's a mistake because the Gemara Bayas is going to say that it's leichalo. Here's the Gemara over here. He says erase the word v'lo yichalel. Which right here says that this drush is learned out from Leichalo, that it's only usher to become tamei to somebody who's tohar. Or somebody who's tohar is usher for him to become tamei. But if he's already tamei, then it's not usher for him to become tamei again. And what is the other one going to do with that? He also has a double drasha. The one who says Leichalo tells he's explaining to tell you that he's only also to become tohar, but if he's already it is not in the Leichal. My Leichalo, Shamat Binotati, similar as before. There's extra letter. So before we said it could have said Bamaves and it says B'mosam. He was saying it says Leichal. And not say Leichal. Each one says the other pasuk I can use for what I need it for, and it's a double drasha. So everyone's good with the drushes. So far, what do we happen? Just to leave out the drusha part, what do we have? According to Rabbi Yochanan, there's no machlokus. Everybody holds that it's not usher for a nazir or a kohen to come into contact with Goses only when he's dies. It's going to be usher even of Goses. That a nazir or a kohen is not allowed to come into the room if there's a Goses over there or to touch him. The Mazakasha that everybody knows that he's not tamei. A person is not tamei till he dies. A person doesn't give off tama until he dies. Even if he's chopped up and he's surely done, and even if he's a ghost, we see that he's expiring. He doesn't give off tama. He's not mace until he dies. So how could you say? That's the most kasha that's explaining it. That if you hold that Techalo says even when he's expiring, it's also to have contact. The pasuk says the Mishnah says he's not tamei. He doesn't give off tama. What's the problem? He's not tamei. Means we thought that the reason why he's not allowed to have contact is because he's tamei, but he's not tamei. The answer is we're not saying that he's tamei. Linian temuye. This is the answer. Linian temuye adan afkan afshei. Linian aschule ischil. As far as tuma, you're right. He doesn't give off tuma until he dies. But the word lahechalo that is becoming profane, that's called that he profaned himself. The fact that he had contact with the ghost says. So it comes out according to Rish Lakish. There's a machlokes Tanakama and Rebbe if it's possible to have contact with the ghosts, which should be halacha l'mais also. Even if nazirus doesn't happen too much nowadays, but as a kohen, the more puts the kohen together. Is a kohen allowed to have contact with the ghosts, or does he have to? It's the raisa. Maybe it is for the raisa that he has to leave. So it comes out according to Rish Lakish. It's also according to the Tanakama. do we pass like that? So as a rule, we pass like a Yochanan against Rish Lakish, so we would say that it's mutter. But there are others that we're trying to bring down. There are others that have a big gear, so not Yochanan Rish Lakish, maybe Abai and Rava, and then maybe we're going to pass in like Rava, and therefore in Shulchan Aruch it says that the Machlokes, that it's Machlokes in Shulchan Aruch. Is a Kohen allowed to be in contact with the ghosts? And we would say maybe not as smart advice, like everybody said on their own, that maybe it's not smart or maybe not, but it's a machlokes if it's the rice or not. And it comes out in Shulchan Aruch. Two shittas in Shulchan Aruch if it's mutter for a Kohen to have contact with the ghosts.
What was the answer of that the ghost says it does not make one tummy?
That it's true, it's not tummy, but it still might be Issa the rice for
It might
Kohen.
still be an Isser, even though it's not.
Right.
Was the afilu part of the brisa at the end?
Yes,
The two afilus were
Right.
part of the brisa.
right.
Is it the same Indian as being contact, as being in the same room, like in the same room for a mess, for sure it's like so. To be with the ghost is in the same room, is it also, you say the word contact. I'm thinking maybe it was you were saying.
Any kind of like a gzeira, it could be this is a kind of a gzeira of the rice. The same way we'll say that the nazir, this is the Shon brings down that the nazir, the grapes, we understand that the nazir is requiring of some kind of an abstinence from becoming intoxicated. We understand that that's the point. And eating the grapes and the raisins is so it calls it. It's a siyam that the Torah made. It's a the rice. It's not only Rabbanan or somebody else, but it's the reasoning could be in order to make offense, but it's offense that the Torah made. So you might say that's the same point over here, that it could be that it's also only offense, but it's offense that the Torah made according to this man Yama. So it comes out of Machlokes. This is just in the Seches Nazir, we haven't had too much halacha l'maisa because people are not nazir, but this is halacha l'maisa Machlokes if a Kohen is allowed to have contact or be in the same oil as a ghost says, and it comes into Shulchan Aruch two opinions. Ahmed Beis.
So as two opinions, so there's no hachra in Shulchan Aruch.
The Shulchan Aruch says two opinions. It says yesh lachmir, and they bring down that this is the sugi. The sugi is al gemara, and depends the reason why to be machmir. We have over here also Taisus and the Rush to bring the bottom Taisus on our page. We can look at it together. Here,
They also found that he never went into a hospital. He just go outside and
I
wait.
was thinking about that.
Wait for
We
this.
spoke about it.
Who what?
Recently,
From that went into a hospital.
So in Eretz Yisrael, they say if there's in America, I understand
Right.
that there's no way of knowing.
Right.
But in Eretz Yisrael, they put up a sign right outside as Hora Kohanim when there's a dead, so they have a sign, and the Kohanim would be allowed to go in if there's no Azhara. And now it comes out according to Asukhi, there'd be a chumrah that they should put up the sign if there's a ghost case. Even if he's a ghost, they should put up the sign.
But once he
you're
goes
not
in-
interested in my idea of a limb, of an amputation.
That we didn't talk about. Now asking a new question. Time to is jumping to the next sugya, is that which is not mamish sugya. It's going to talk about a kohen. Is a kohen wanted to become? Time David is right that there might be a sugya about amputated leg. It's also matame ba'ohel.
What?
That if they have
Oh, the limb
limbs,
itself
the
is.
limb itself is matame ba'ohel.
Oh,
That there's no
And-
end of examples of that.
And therefore they shouldn't be able. They shouldn't go in. They shouldn't go in.
Heart removals, kidney removals.
No, okay, that might not be the
okay, but
the-
Abraham.
whatever was called an Eber, whatever's going to be called a Lachak Eber, so Eber min ha chai. You're talking about Eber min ha chai, not talking about Eber min ha mes.
Okay.
Eber min ha chai.
You
If
think
it's also for a Kohen to become amputated limb, says it also to become tummy for a Kohen to Eber min ha chai. So we'll have to look into that second. Here, just to touch on the bottom two lines. The Kohen in the Muzar like says the kind of Lam Kab Yochel, Gabriel Shlok. I'm just reading the text. Whoever wants going to argue, so there's no problem for goes to we're going to pass like a Yochanan against Rish Lakish, and the Yochanan says there is no such machlokes. But the Bahag has different gears. Instead of Yochanan Rish Lakish, he has Abaye instead of Yochanan, and Rabba instead of Rish Lakish. So we're going to pass like Rabba against Abaye. Lefizeh halacha Rabba lagabi Abaye, and according to Rabba, it's machlokes Rabbi and Rabbanan, and he should pass like Rabbanan. And therefore, Kohen is not allowed to have contact with the ghost says. So that's how he ends off. That according to the gears of the Bahag, there's a reason to be machmir not to have contact with a ghost. The Kohen should not have contact with a ghost.
Contact or in the same OL?
Contact means an oil also. Oil, contact, I mean, maga, masa, oil, any kind of a
But
contact.
I was thinking in any hospital, there's at least one ghost all the time.
All the time, and usually. I remember now that
Okay, you know, as a doctor,
yeah.
Yeah.
In the big hospitals, the houses.
how long is a ghost?
3 days.
No, a ghost is 3 days.
No, well, say if somebody has a ghost, you have a chazaka, and within 3 days he's dead.
Yes, but that's not our subject. We're talking about only the time of his gesisa.
Okay.
You say you want to run out from there that a ghost says period could be 3 days. I would imagine that usually it doesn't take so long. You would tell us
Okay.
that. How
But it could
you should tell us how long is the gesisa?
could
What is
easily
that?
be
How long is
20
the
minutes,
expiration
30
period?
minutes. I don't know.
And what's considered more? What's the maximum?
The maximum is 3 days.
Okay, that you're saying not as a
Yeah.
doctor, you're saying as a
Yeah.
welcome, but as
Yeah.
a
The
doctor,
maximum would be
how
3
long is the
days.
expiration? How long is the expiration period? Once that person starts expiring, how long does it take until he dies?
So what's considered expiring?
So
Stop breathing.
they talk about the breathing and the different simanim they have. I don't know where it's based on. What are called simanei gesisa? What are the halachic simanim that he's called the ghost says that he's expiring? I guess the doctors
Well,
also.
it's
have-
called
Brain
his
dead,
breathing
they call
is slow.
brain dead, and
That's not the subject. That's not the. That's
No, like
that's not the
stopping
subject.
breathing. I was with my mother when she was passing.
That's
And
that's
there
going to
was
be.
there was an expert there.
Yeah. Stopping the breathing is going to be called dead already. We're talking
Yeah.
about we're talking about gesisa before that.
So I don't know,
Right,
but I
right.
mean, it was getting. She knew, this woman knew when to call like the relatives, they better come.
Right.
And then at some point, it got slower and slower.
Mm.
And at some point, she was able to say, this is her
Right.
last breath is coming
Mm.
now. So I
So
don't.
that's the gesisa that they're probably the systems are working slower.
She knew
The
before
breathing
the
is
death,
slower.
this is her last breath.
Right. Okay. So we're on to Ahmed Beis. Now we're going on the halacha of Kohen, not about a nazir. A nazir is not allowed to become tummy even to relatives, like it says in the pasuk open, even relatives, even the 7 relatives. A nazir is not allowed to have tummy, but the Kohen may. A Kohen may become tummy to his relatives, the 7 relatives: a father, mother, a son, daughter, a brother, a sister, an unmarried sister, and a wife. Those are the 7 relatives that a Kohen is allowed to have tummy, allowed to become tummy.
Mhm.
So now it says, Nikta Rosho Shal Aviv Eni Matami Lo. Now this is a dramatic case. That his head was chopped off. That it's really going to be not so dramatic. We're going to see later on if he's missing any part. If he's missing any part of it, he's not a Mesham, he's not a complete Kohen, Nikta Rosho.
Wait, I don't understand what-
Maybe
the
that's
head did not become tummy.
what?
This is saying.
No,
that
The
head did not-
Kohen may not become tummy to his
Oh, the
dead
Kohen
father,
may not
because
become tummy to-
even though it's his father,
His father.
but since he's not a full father, he's not a complete body, so that a Kohen may become tummy to his only if he's complete. But if he's not complete, the Kohen may not become tummy to his relative. So if his father's head was chopped off, so he's not allowed to become tummy to him, even though his head is missing. And he could have been much more. What's the opposite of dramatic? It could have been much more mild that his finger was cut off. That even any can come because he's not showing. As the Gemara says, my time. What's the source of this? Amakra, Laviv. It says he may become tummy to his father. The Kohen may become tummy to his father, but only what is called the Aviv. Is Manshu Shalim below is Manshu Chasa. Only if he's a complete body, not if he's missing something. Say he's missing his head, also if he's missing a finger. There's also anytime anything is missing, is makes him that he's not a Meis Shalem, and the Kohen is not allowed to become tummy.
Sounds like a Katlani, Lo Shalonida, Katlani, a car accident.
Whatever the case is.
Something.
Whatever the case is, whatever the case would be, if he's missing any limb, so some say Dafka I saw in Shulchan Aruch, some say only if he lost a limb after death. If he lost a limb in lifetime, maybe it's different. Maybe then he would be able to, but if after death he's missing a limb, so the son, Kohen, is not allowed to become tummy to him.
How did Shmuel Nabi cut off the head of Agag?
What's the question?
He cut off his head.
It doesn't say that, it says Vayishasef. It doesn't say he cut off his head. What is Vayishasef? But anyway, what's the question?
Kasha is it is kind of
Shmuel's not a Kohen. Shmuel was a Levi.
And
Shmuel was a man.
the children of,
From Korah.
Oh, okay, so it's no question.
Excuse me, you're saying that if the limb was cut off in his lifetime,
Maybe that's different. I'm just putting aside, put that on footnote. Look, Ein Shulchan Aruch, if his limb was cut off in his lifetime. If something was amputated in his lifetime, maybe the
Maybe
father
he
is
can't.
still called Shalem. That's something I saw in Shulchan Aruch talk about. But
but
let's
if
talk
it's
about
after death.
after death.
Well,
that
here
part
we're
of him is
talking about
missing.
chopping off his head after his death.
Well, is that
during death.
surely his head cutting of his head is something that he died from.
Oh,
It wasn't.
I
It
see.
wasn't. So now that the father is
I
dead,
see,
he has
that's
the
why they
body,
picked
or he has the head, or he has the body. He's not allowed to become tummy to either one of them because he's not a full mace. It's a very dramatic case. He could have spoken about missing a finger. We'll see soon.
No, but then missing a thing they have to say after. he
After
died.
that, yeah. Are you saying this is a way of saying that it happened? Okay, that's a way to say it short. Okay. Amalei Rav Hamnuna. Rav Hamnuna asked Rav Chisda, Elamayata, Ka'azal b'piksa the arbos, upasku aganve l'reishe, hachinami the lowly tamale. This next Gemara is, I don't understand it well. We'll put it in parentheses a second. It's not going to change anything, but we'll get a side subject over here. Let's just, let's put in parentheses just to make a side point out of it. This kasha is going to be, what if there's no, what if his father happens to be a mace mitzvah? What if his father happens to be that his head got cut off in a place where there's nobody to help? So what would you say?
then he has a mitzvah to bury him.
But he's not a shalem. A Kohen is allowed to be mitami to a mace.
Yes,
Yeah.
because a non-shalem has to be buried also.
So
Why did he
what's the
say that?
kasha? So I don't know what the kasha is. If he's
What are the
mitzvah,
words of the father?
if you're right that he can't become tummy to his father who's not whole, if he's going in Pax of the Arbus, everybody knows Pax of the Arbus is a very dangerous place. People would say if he was going in Harlem and they cut off his head,
What's a very dangerous place?
Pax of the Arbus,
The Arbos place.
yes.
Mhm.
And we have it in another two places in, and here the Gemara says it's a very dangerous place. And he was going with his father, and robbers over there cut off the father's head, which is the case we're talking about. And not the case, but we're talking about this father's head was cut off some other way, like Chaim Davis had a car accident. But here the case would be that the Ganavim killed him in a place where there's nobody else. Should he not take care of his the father's corpse? That's what he told him. He's allowed to become tummy to even if it wouldn't be if he's supposed to take care of a mitzvah, even if it's not a relative, then surely if it happens to be a relative. The fact that he's a relative is not a head over here because he's not showing, because he's missing his head. But the fact that he's a mitzvah is the reason why he's allowed to be tummy. What's the difference that it's his father? The Torah sounds pashut. Now the Gemara asks a question which I don't understand. Is that a mitzvah? Behind Meis Mitzvah, who? Batanya Ezel Meis Mitzvah, Kol Shein Lo Kovrim, Kori Bachem Monin also Ein Zeh Meis Mitzvah, Vaha Islay Bra. What's called a Meis Mitzvah? If he calls and nobody answers, like it says, what's called a Meis Mitzvah? That he doesn't have barriers. Then I say it in English, barriers.
Yeah.
But if he calls and other people answer, that's not called a Meis Mitzvah. And this person has a son. Now, is that logical? What is the Gemara saying? That how could you call him a Meis Mitzvah? His son is right there. Is anybody gonna challenge me? I'm saying the Gemara. The Gemara says, why is it called a Meis Mitzvah? His son is right there.
His son is right there.
What's a Meis Mitzvah? That somebody calls and nobody answers. Here, his son is right in Meis Mitzvah. You want to permit this to take care of his mitzvah, but it's not a Meis Mitzvah because his son is right there.
There's somebody else.
Nobody else to take care of him. There's
But
nobody else.
but the son is there.
Yeah, he's a Kohen. He's a
Uh,
Kohen.
But
He has no choice.
The son, if he
No.
didn't take care of him, nobody else could.
okay. So what does that make a difference if he's a son? If you can't take care of him, you're telling
Yeah,
him
yeah.
you shouldn't take care of him because he's not a Meis Mitzvah. Why is he not a Meis Mitzvah? Because I'm here, but you're not letting me take care of him. It sounds like circular reasoning. You can't say that there's not a Meis Mitzvah because the son is here, and therefore the son can't take care of him because then he is a Meis Mitzvah. So that seems to be maybe the unfortunately explained that it means that maybe the son could call other people. But Islay Bro, it means the son can't do it himself. It's not a Meis Mitzvah because the son could call other people. That's also maybe enough not to be a Meis Mitzvah.
Is that part of the Bryce of the Hayis, or that's the
No,
Kasha?
but Islay Bro is the Gemara is asking us. Till there's the Bryce. So what's called the Meis Mitzvah? He doesn't have barriers, but if he calls and somebody will answer him, it's not called a Meis
It's not a
Mitzvah.
Meis Mitzvah.
And to be there for the Kasha
There
is
is
here, there's
that
a
he's
son.
there. Yeah.
answer is nobody's around. Given the cause of since he's going on the road over there and picks it up, it's very deserted place. So there's nobody else. The son is there. The son have to be with his father. Okay, so what did the Gemara say? That even though the halacha is that the son cannot become tamei to his father if he's missing a limb, if he happens to be a meis mitzvah, so he would be allowed to. So this was all Rav Chisda Amarav. Rav Chisda Amarav, he's the one maybe we'll highlight it. That's the mandam over here that he says. Nikta Rosho Shalaviv in the Tama before okay, was Mansur Shalom. That okay, this was the Amakrala Aviv is Mansur Shalom. So that was Rav Chisda Amarav that a Kohen cannot become Tamei to a relative only if he's full, whole, complete, and if he's missing a limb. The example given here is he's missing his head, but we'll see in a second that not after any kind of limb that is missing, the Kohen wouldn't be allowed to become Tamei to his father. The Moshe Kasha from a Brisa, the Brisa is going to say that he may. That's going to be the kasha. And just to make it short, there was an kasha that says that he may, and the answer is going to be, you're right, the Brisa says so, but it's only that he may become tamei to his father even if he is missing a limb. Okay. That's going to be the kasha. We're going to give him a preview. And the answer is going to be, you're right, it says that, but it's only Rabbi Yehuda talking, and it's a das yachid, it's only an individual opinion. We're not going to pass like that. So here goes the Gemara. Meisvei, kasha from a Brisa that's going to be against Rav Chisda Amarav. It says in the pasuk la itama, he may become tamei to her. That's talking about his sister. That a person in the Kohen may become tamei to his unmarried sister. He only could be tamei to her if she's a full, but not her limbs.
Is that the end of the Brisa?
No, the Brisa continues. That he's not allowed to become tamei to a amputated limb. So this word Evareh seems to mean, it explains itself. What does it mean he can't become tamei to a limb? Amputated limb in his lifetime. And even though we're talking about the sister, it says who than the father, even a bigger chiddush. The father is a closer reason to become tamei, and he's not allowed to become tamei to his father's amputated limb also that was amputated in his lifetime. That's what it says in the Brisa. According to this gear, so the question in the gear also over here. Let's take what it says. That even though there's a heter to become tamei to a dead father, a Kohen may become tamei to his dead father, but not to an amputated limb that was in his lifetime. Avol machzirhu al etzem kisora. The word machzir means he can go back. Go back sounds like that he already became tamei. This is going to be the dig of the Gemara. So we'll take it slow. That going back means that he already became tamei. Then he already, let's say, he buried him, and then he's missing a piece. He's allowed to go back for that piece also. So here it says he's allowed to go back to bury also even an etzem kisora, even a bone the size of a barley, very small. That's also enough that he's allowed to go back and it's tamei. Etzem kisora is tamei. It's that's big enough that it's a very small, the size of a barley, but that's enough to give off tumah. And the Kohen usually is not allowed to have contact with the etzem kisora, but since he was already tamei, the Brisa seems to say this. If he's tohor or he's already tamei. Since he already was tamei, that's going to be the Gemara's diak over here, that he became tamei to his father. Let's say it's his father that was missing etzem kisora, so he was tamei to him, which is going to be the main point. And then they find the etzem kisora that wasn't buried yet. He's allowed to go back for that etzem kisora. That's the Brisa. Again,
that Brisa. This isn't a diuk. This is part of the Brisa.
This is all the Brisa.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it again. Lo yitama. The Kohen may become tamei to his unmarried sister. Lo mitame ve'enim mitame le'voreh. He may become tamei to her, but not to her limbs. Which limb? Avram Menachai. It seems. He's not allowed to become tamei even to his father, amputated limb in his lifetime. Avram Menachai. But he may that's when he was tohor. But if the Kohen was tamei because he buried his father, let's say, he's not to go back to bury the etzem kisora. The Brisa seems to differentiate if he was tohor or if he's only being machzir. He's only going back to bury something after he's tamei already. And that's what the Gemara wants to know. My machzir, what does that mean? Now starts the Gemara.
Excuse me just a second. Are we saying there's two different laws here? One is that lechatchila he shouldn't become tamei if there's a limb missing, but if he's tamei, he can then go after that limb. Two different.
Why do you say? Where do you see that? Where do you see all that?
Lo yitamei. This is to Lo
Lo,
yitame, I'm sorry.
lo means to her.
La yitame. Lahu matame.
He can
Ve'enu
become tummy to his
matame
sister.
la'evara, levareha.
To her limbs. And it explains.
She'enu matame la'evar min achai shel aviv.
So far, just at Avim Menachai. So it's talking about an amputated limb that was taken off in the lifetime, and that's what it says so far. It just said that he can't become tummy to his sister, to his father, to an amputated limb. An amputated limb also is tummy. The father might even be alive, and the limb was
I thought we were
amputated.
talking about when the father dies.
So far, just talked about
Just
Avim
talking about
Menachai.
the limb.
It's the way it says about it says Avim Menachai. That's what it says here. The
It's
limb.
talking about the
Yeah,
aver.
right.
I said, don't become tummy to the aver, but if you're tummy, then you can go back for the aver.
Right.
I see. Okay.
And now the Gemara is going to learn out of this brisa something about our subject. Is a mutter to become tummy to a dead father who's not complete, is not whole. Because it says over here, my maximum lesson Kisora. What does those words mean? There's not to go back to take care of the small bone. They take out the words over here. They take out the word low. Just to,
Lamed Alavav.
no.
It's
And
low.
they put it
Ah,
over
there.
there.
Purport to low.
Yeah, take out the word low. And this
The
the
E
E
machzor
is
porta.
better to be like the ka mechzed porta. Lav lamemra the ka machzed porta. So the way they explain is that seems from the story over here that he's going back to bury the bone, the small bone, Esem Kisor, a small bone that was missing. So
Why is it
What-
so
what's-
important?
because the diak is going to be that he's going back to bury the bone. What did he do the first time around? He buried the body without the bone.
limb.
So that means that was a missing body.
Mhm.
Even though Rabbi Chista's case was dramatic, he's missing his head, but here it says that even missing a small bone is also included in Rav Chista's point. And according to Rav Chista, he shouldn't be able to bury his father who's missing a bone.
Because it's not showing.
It's not showing. So that's a kasha. That's the most kasha. The Gemara wanted to bring this brisa to show that it's mashma that he was allowed to bury his father who was missing a bone.
Maybe there's cooler because it's just a sore.
The Gemara doesn't differentiate. The Gemara says lav dafka. According to Rav Chista, has to be showing, but it's not showing.
Even
Even
a
the Esek
sore.
Kesora is mashma. That's what the according to Gemara's
That's
diak. That's the mechza porta. He's missing something, and still he was allowed to bury his father.
Okay.
So that's the kasha.
Oh.
Take out the word low because it doesn't fit over here. Take out the word low. So the my answer is you're right. That's what the Brisa says. But we see that the author of the Brisa is Rabbi Yehuda. Machlok is going on. It's only Rabbi Yehuda. The author of this Brisa is Das Yachid. It's only an individual opinion. I'm not going to pass it like it. And it's going to bring a Brisa which says similar that we just finished saying, but it's going to say a name. It's going to say Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore, you're right. It's Rabbi Yehuda, and Rav Chista Rav is not passing like Rabbi Yehuda. He Rabbi Yehuda, that Brisa that you just quoted, which is true. That's what it's mashma, that he could become tummy to his father who's missing a limb, but that goes only according to Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer, more or less the same brisa. Lo yitama, same thing. The same person that it says he may become tummy to his dead sister. Only to her, but not to her limbs. And it explains same words as before, that he may not become tummy to amputated limb that was in the lifetime of the father. He may become tamei to a part of his father, only not Avram Menachai. So here it says that everyone, this Brisa seems to say Avram Menachai, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's lenient. It says he could become tamei to a father who's missing a limb, but he may not become tamei to Avram Menachai. So that's important also for Kohen has to know that he can become tamei to Avram Menachai, even of a relative, even of a father. But what does it say? That he could become tamei Avram Menames, and that's what we're talking about. He says even an Aver Menames, he's allowed to. And there's only an Aver, even if anything is missing, he's not allowed to become tamei. Here it only has the Aver alone, and the Brisa says he may. So this is the same as the Brisa we said a second ago. All the Gemara has here is that it says Rabbi Yehuda Omer, that here it says that this is what one is talking. I'm going to say it's only a Das Yachid, it's only full opinion, and we're not going to pass him like him. And if Chista is arguing on this Brisa.
Okay. If we say that he can become tummy to the aver,
Yes.
does that imply that he can become tummy to the father, the av who doesn't have the aver?
Yes,
That's
but there's no difference. There's
If
no
it's to
difference.
the aver, then doesn't.
There's no difference if it's 95% or it's 5%. That
okay.
the quantity of Chista has to be 100%. And this Brisa says that he may become tamei to any percentage, even to Avim and Ames he may.
Only because he's a nice mitzvah.
No, we're
I
not.
don't understand.
Labor minimize.
What don't you understand?
How can he become Tamei to
What's the question?
his father who is missing a limb?
That's what the Gemara is asking, that this Bryce says
So only
against Rav
Rabbi
Chisda.
Yehuda says no, and
Rav Yehuda says that he may, and Rav Chisda is one who said not. Just to make the Gemara short, the top says, and the yellow, Rav Chisda Samarav said that he may not become tummy only to a complete mace. And the kasha was that the Bryce says differently, and he said, and the answer, you're right, the Bryce says differently, it's only Rav Yehuda. And Rav Chisda is not passing like Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda in the Bryce says that he may become tummy to a limb, even a mace. Not only a whole father, even not only a father missing something, even the missing part alone, even that 5%, even the 5%, even the 1%, he may be father's limb, as long as it's even a mace, that it came after he died. Even Menachai, here it says even Avidos, he may not become tummy to. He may not become tummy to even Menachai. If a person, Cohen, has a relative who has amputated Aver, he's not allowed to become tummy to that limb. But Rabbi Yehuda holds that it may become tummy to a father or one of the 7 relatives, even if it's only a Abraham Ames. Rav Chisda Paskins like that. And Shulchan Aruch Paskins like Rav Chisda, that he may not, only a Meis Shalom, and if the father is missing something, he's not allowed to become tummy to him. It's Machlokes Rishonim what you Paskin like. The Rib Paskins like Rabbi Yehuda, the Rosh Paskins like Rav Chisda Marav, and that's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that it's also for a Kohen to become tummy to a relative who's not complete. The more continues, but that'll be tomorrow.
Bahatanya.
Up to, but Tanya. Up to? Yes. So up to, that's what we're up to. Just before we leave, we'll continue still. We have another class now, but the question is if everybody would like to have tomorrow's daf tonight after the Megillah reading.
I can't. I have to go out.
So it's better for you to have tomorrow morning.
I think so.
The regular time, 11 o'clock?
I think 10 o'clock,
10 o'clock.
if we can, because there's more things going on.
We'd like to help out, to find if possible,
Obviously,
but
obviously.
give him
Where's that?
Tonight's better for me, but it's
what is
wherever the
that?
majority. Tonight's better for me, but wherever the majority wants.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
8 o'clock.
Chaim Dov says he can't tonight.
I got a gig, but I can leave my tape recording. Fine, catch up. All right. Catch up.
Whatever everybody says.
You want to take
The choice is tonight at 8 o'clock or tomorrow 10, 11. It's harder tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll do it tonight?
Yeah, take it.
Okay, so we'll do that.
So 8 o'clock?
Tonight, 8 o'clock, Bez Hashem. That's enough time after the Megillah reading?
Yeah, more than
Okay. Okay. We all thank Chaim David, and
Thank you,
it's
Chaim.
extra schus that you should know the daf well,
that.
and Shvi Apoel. Okay, Yashagach everybody.
today.
So we'll continue now.